Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, and it is June 12th, 2023. Here we go once again. How are we doing? Can you hear me okay? Please give me the okay. I'm trying not to talk real loud because we are in a hotel room after all, and Becky's just off to my side trying to sleep. And I tried to keep the lighting somewhat down as well. So just let me know. You can hear me fine. Thank you, Kelly. And so we are here in Florida. We are not at the resort. We check into the resort later today. There's an alarm going off. Apparently, somebody wants to get up now. Just a second. Turn off that. Yeah, turn it on. Hopefully. Okay. Hopefully that turned off and it didn't go into snooze. Who operates these clocks anymore? Doesn't everybody just use a cell phone now to wake themselves up in the morning? Apparently, somebody had an alarm set for 8 o'clock this morning. Yes, it is 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock Central Time. The CIA. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Dave, sir. Good morning, Marie. Good morning, Tommy. Is Bible Blues Brother Scott here? Well, I see there's 5 here. So that would mean not yet. Oh, she uses, so Kathy, you use the clock, radio, and cell phone. I didn't know how to turn it off because it's been so long since I've seen and used a clock radio because I pretty much live and die by my cell phone waking me up in the morning. And let me tell you, it was it went off this morning and I was thrown off, I think because I was in a deep sleep because I didn't have Rusty. Rusty's back home, and yes, Becky has the camera on. So Becky was watching Rusty last night. Rusty was meowing around the house, probably looking for us. And Scotty was home later, and yeah, she wishes she brought him to Florida. Anyway, but we're here safely. We're not at the resort yet. We check into the resort later today, and we can't check in until this afternoon. So it's kind of like we don't have a car. We just took the shuttle service from the airport to the hotel here, and then we're going to have to grab an Uber to go from the hotel here to the resort. And we're going to plan on just staying at the resort for the week. And so, it's a pretty big resort, so there's lots of things that we can do. We can walk around. They have a tram service that travels the whole facility, so we can get around from station to station, no problem, from pool to pool. Yeah. The only thing is that we can't check in until later today. So we were able to negotiate last night a 1 p.m. checkout. So we don't have to check out of this hotel room until 1 p.m. today. So that means you know who will be sleeping until noon today. It is vacation, Anyway, so we are here, and let's go ahead and get to the message. And I didn't forget any of the books, so we'll be able to stay right on schedule this week. Won't miss anything. Yeah, We do miss Marcia's weather report, Miss Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. Um, maybe, hey, because what Scott does is he usually shares the link with her, but she's just not a YouTube fan, apparently. Um, Here we go. Message. Mornings are pleasant. Cease all your worries in this new day. Make the most of today, doing the best we can with God's help. God is about love, so love life and practice kindness in all we do, for love is the root of all joy and sorrow. Each day we go through a number of emotions: fear, anger, pain. Emotions are a powerful motivator, and they will drive our behaviors in life. Sometimes we need to get inside our head and see what makes us tick and why we would respond like we do. Do we really want to do that? Who does do that? Do you think about getting inside your brain to see how what makes you tick? uh, Let us live life with forgiveness. It does not change the past, but it does enlarge the future. We can rid ourselves of emotional baggage resting with God. Give our minds a break from trying to plan continually, asking His Spirit to take care of us and guide us in doing His will. There are the details of life in our day, and we are in a journey with God. Hold on to His hand and walk with Him. Let us learn to trust God, and we can rest in His presence and breathe a sigh of relief as He helps us with our problems each day. Each day, we could share our problems with another person, trusting them and feeling strengthened by them, for God places them in our lives to help and guide us. Each day, we have the opportunity to ask for help and guidance. Let us be grateful for people who help us. God gives us strength and guidance through His Spirit. It is designed to guide us with help and with our problems. God's blessings on your day. Much love to each of you. And that was a very good message, which I have a hard time posting all the time. So I'm going to send it to Scott, and let me see if I can write something. I It looks like I might be able to. I was able to post something today. That is amazing, because usually it kicks me out when I try to post anything. So I've not only sent the message to Bible Blues Brother Scott, "Good morning, sir," but in his instant messages, I was also able to successfully post it to my account today. I didn't put it in the Pray for America group, but I did get it into my account. And so if you let me see if it's successfully posted. Um, Look up myself. Or did I just post it in his page? Oops. I just posted it on his page. He probably doesn't need a regurgitation of his own message. Oops. Oh, I can't do it. Okay, Scott. Wait, second try. There, now it worked. I should probably go back and take the message off of his page. As you, he doesn't need his message posted on his page by me, right? There you go. I was able to do that. Thank you for your patience. And for your patience, the Book of Amazing Stories. Here we go. Let's see. Today is June 12th. So we get the saint who took down the mafia. When a cardinal refused to take a stand, the priest had to do something. If the church remained silent in the face of evil, he would raise his voice, even if he was a solitary bird warbling in the face of a howling wind. So Father Pino went to war against a sinister force that had survived the turbulent history of his island and even profited from its misfortunes, the dreaded Sicilian Mafia. As a boy, Pino had seen mobsters feast like parasites off the poor folk of his native Brancaccio. I don't know. Brancaccio, the most impoverished neighborhood in Palermo. In his first parish in the village of Gadrano, the mafia killed 15 out of its 100 residents. Father Pino went door to door begging villagers to forgive and be reconciled to the mobsters who bullied, extorted, and murdered their loved ones. But the priests also realized that we must not only forgive our enemies, sometimes we have to stand up to bullies the way David stood up to Goliath. Pino appealed to the church hierarchy for help, but the Cardinal of Palermo said that the mafia was an overblown myth, a fantasy created by the media. The Cardinal wasn't even sure it existed. He was more concerned about the threat of communism than street hoodlums. But Pino refused to go along with the silent church. In 1990, when he returned to Brancaccio or Cascio, or how do we say that? Caccio, maybe it's Brancaccio, as the pastor of the St. Gaetano Church, he declared war against the mob. His Sunday morning homilies denounced mafia violence. When mob bosses tried to bribe him, he refused their hush money. His church became the center of resistance to the Cosa Nostra. He warned his flock that true Christians could never engage in age old Sicilian practice of omert, maybe, turning a blind eye and taking a vow of silence in the face of mafia violence. Slowly, the mob was losing its power in Palermo. After the church hierarchy told him to tone down his rhetoric, his sermons got more aggressive. When the mafia warned him to cool it, he turned up the heat. The more they threatened him, the more he spoke against them. By showing disrespect to the mob dons, Father Pino signed his own death warrant. On September 15th, 1993, while celebrating his 56th birthday, the courageous priest was gunned down in front of his own church. The Sicilian mafia underestimated the power of martyrdom. Huge crowds marched in candlelight memorial parades, carrying signs defying the Cosa Nostra. Father Pino's favorite saying was spray painted everywhere. And what if somebody did something? The church hierarchy finally rose up to the challenge the Godfathers and rose up to challenge the Godfathers of crime. Even the Pope spoke out publicly against the mafia. It's no wonder the church beautified the Sicilian priests in 2013. Or is it beatified? Not beautified, beatified. It has been said that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Maybe there is an evil that you need to speak out against today. When you recall the story of Father Don Giuseppe Pino Puglisi, you might want to repeat this revision of his favorite question. What if somebody did something? And what if that person was me? Who will protect me from the wicked? Who will stand up for me against evildoers? Psalm 94, verse 16. That is a great story. Standing up for what is right in the face of wrong. So much evil, corruption, darkness going on in this world today. And are we going to continue to shine our light? For if we have accepted the sacrifice and we have become one of his children, then we are the light. And as being agents of the light, we must shine our light. Because no matter how dark the world is, no matter how evil, corrupted, how much chaos and confusion goes on, we remain the light if we continue to shine our light in this world. Okay, let's get to the word for today. In Old Testament read, we're going to pick up in 1 Kings chapter 9, verse 1. So Solomon finished building the temple of the Lord as well as the royal palace. He completed everything he had planned to do. Then the Lord appeared to Solomon a second time, as he had done before at Gibeon. The Lord said to him, I have heard your prayer and your petition. I have set this temple apart to be holy, this place you have built where my name will be honored forever. I will always watch over it, for it's dear to my heart. As for you, if you will follow me with your integrity and godliness, and what we can do right here is we can personalize this. As for you, because it says as for you. So let's personalize this. Let's take this like he is speaking to us. As for you, if you will follow me with integrity and godliness, as David, your father, did. We'll leave that part out in terms of we're personalizing this, but it reads in God's word as David's because he's talking to David's son. But we can personalize this and make this for ourselves. Obeying all my commands, decrees, and regulations. Now we're going to find out what he's going to do for us. Then I will establish the throne of your dynasty over Israel forever. Maybe we're not going to have a dynasty, but he will be there for us forever. We can take that away from it. We're not going to be kings of a dynasty. We're going to be subjects to him, but he will look over us forever. For I made this promise to your father David, one of your descendants will always sit on the throne of Israel. But if you or your descendants abandon me and disobey my commands and decrees I have given you, and if you serve and worship other gods, then I will uproot Israel from this land that I have given them. I will reject this temple that I have made holy to honor my name. I will make Israel an object of mockery and ridicule among nations. And though this temple is impressive now, all who pass by will be appalled and gasp in horror. They will ask, why did the Lord do such terrible things to this land and to this temple? Why did he destroy the temple that was dedicated to him and try to make it his fault? But the problem is, it's by our actions. So we can either choose to follow him and live by his commands, decrees, regulations, be obedient to him, and that'll be to our favor, or we can go against him, serve other gods, serve this world. And basically, we get the, either go this way or go that way. And ultimately, what he does, because it's all about free will, is we are given a choice. Even after we've come to faith, we still live in a land of choice. We can choose to live by him, or we can choose to live against him. And what we choose in these days will ultimately determine our eternity. And that's the thing, is that everybody lives by that same thing. Each one of us that walk this earth are given the opportunity to choose. We choose to serve him, choose to glorify him only, or we choose to live by the creature comforts of this world and follow everything and everybody and idolize everything and anyone. And ultimately, the choices we make will determine our eternity. Because what we realize is that there is eternity that waits each and every one of us. It's by what we choose in this time as to where our eternity lies. Because, either way, whether one chooses God or not, there is an eternity that awaits each and every one of us. And the answer will be because his people abandoned the Lord, their God, who brought their ancestors out of Egypt, and they worshiped other gods instead and bowed down to them. That is why the Lord has brought all these disasters on them. It's by their choices. It took Solomon 20 years to build the Lord's temple and his own royal palace. At the end of that time, he gave 20 towns in the land of Galilee to King Hiram of Tyre. Hiram had previously provided all the cedar and cypress timber and gold that Solomon had requested. But when Hiram came from Tyre to see the town Solomon had given him, he was not at all pleased with them. "What kind of towns are these, my brother?" he asked. So Hiram called that area Kabul, which means worthless, and it is still known today. Nevertheless, Hiram paid Solomon 9,000 pounds of gold. This is the account of the forced labor that King Solomon conscripted to build the Lord's temple, the royal palace, the supporting terraces, the wall of Jerusalem, and the cities of Hazor, Megiddo, and Gezer. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, had attacked and captured Gezer, killing the Canaanite population and burning it down. He gave the city to his daughter as a wedding gift when she married Solomon. So he killed the population, burned it down, and then he gave it to his daughter as a wedding gift. Um, I hope they rebuilt it. um, and it wasn't like it happened like right away. Like he killed the population, burned it down, and then said, "Hey, looks like a perfect wedding gift for my daughter." Did he rebuild it at least before, or is it still smoldering when he says, "Congratulations, daughter, here's your land"? So Solomon rebuilt the city of Gezer. So it sounds like it is a smoldering mess because he gave the city to his daughter as a wedding gift when she married Solomon. So then Solomon rebuilt the city. So it does sound like it was a smoldering mess. It seems like a really odd wedding gift, doesn't it? He also built up the towns of Lower Beth Horon, Baalath, and Tamar in the wilderness within his land. He built towns as supply centers and constructed towns where his chariots and horses could be stationed. He built everything he desired in Jerusalem, in Lebanon, and throughout his entire realm. There were still some people living in the land who were not Israelites, including Amorites, Hittites, Pezerites, Hivites, and Jebusites. They were descendants of the nations whom the people of Israel had not completely destroyed. So Solomon conscripted them as slaves, and they serve as forced laborers to this day. But Solomon did not conscript any of the Israelites for forced labor. Instead, he assigned them to serve as fighting men, government officials, officers and captains in his army, commanders of his chariots, and charioteers. So Solomon appointed 550 of them to supervise the people working on his various projects rather, not subjects, projects. Solomon moved his wife Pharaoh's daughter from the city of David to the new palace he had built for her. Then he constructed the supporting terraces. 3 times each year, Solomon presented burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar he had built for the Lord. He also burned incense to the Lord. And so he finished the work of building the temple. King Solomon also built a fleet of ships at Ezion Geber, a port near Elath in the land of Edom, along the shore of the Red Sea. Hiram sent experienced crews of sailors to sail the ships with Solomon's men. They sailed to Ophir, and brought back to Solomon some 16 tons of gold. That would be pretty valuable. When the Queen of Sheba heard Solomon's fame, which brought honor to the name of the Lord, she came to test him with hard questions. She arrived in Jerusalem with a large group of attendants and a great caravan of camels loaded with spices, large quantities of gold, and precious jewels. When she met with Solomon, she talked with him about everything she had on her mind. Solomon had answers for all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. When the queen of Sheba realized how very wise Solomon was, and when she saw the palace he had built, she was overwhelmed. She was also amazed at the food on his tables, the organization of his officials, and their splendid clothing, the cupbearers, and the burnt offerings Solomon made at the temple of the Lord. She exclaimed to the king, "Everything I heard in my country about your achievements and wisdom is true. I didn't believe what was said until I arrived here and saw it with my own eyes. In fact, I had not heard the half of it. Your wisdom and prosperity are far beyond what I was told. How happy your people must be. What a privilege for your officials to stand here day after day listening to your wisdom. Praise the Lord your God, who delights in you and has placed you on the throne of Israel. Because of the Lord's eternal love for Israel, He has made you king so you can rule with just have so much. That's what he asked for. He not gave him much wisdom, but he also gave him much, all because all that Solomon sought was wisdom, wisdom and guidance of the Lord. And to think that's all we need to do is seek the wisdom and the guidance, and we can have great wisdom as well. Maybe we won't have the great life Solomon had. We're not going to have all the creature comforts, but wisdom, along with peace. Boy, with wisdom and peace and strength and love, we have everything we need to. Am I still here? Chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Am I still here? Somehow I got some sort of message. Am I here? Please let me know I'm still here. Where was I? I got distracted by it, said I was offline. Then she gave the king a gift of 9,000 pounds of gold. Okay. I was like, I thought I got kicked out. I'm on their Wi-Fi, and I'm not sure if it's good or not. Sorry. Hopefully it replays better if you're having problems now. Then she gave the king a gift of 9,000 pounds of gold, great quantities of spices, and precious jewels. Never again were so many spices brought in as those the queen of Sheba gave King Solomon. In addition, Hiram's ships brought gold from Ophir, Ophir, I don't know. And they also brought rich cargoes of red sandalwood and precious jewels. The king used the sandalwood to make railings for the temple of the Lord and the royal palace, and to construct lyres and harps for the musicians. Never before or since has there been such a supply of sandalwood. King Solomon gave the Queen of Sheba whatever she asked for, besides all the customary gifts he had so generously given. Then she and all her attendants returned to their own land. Each year, Solomon received about 25 tons of gold. This did not include the additional revenue he received from the merchants and traders, all the kings of Arabia, and the governors of the land. King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold, each weighing more than 15 pounds. He also made 300 smaller shields of hammered gold, each weighing nearly 4 pounds. The king placed these shields in the palace of the forest of Lebanon. 4 pounds, here's where I inject my humor. 4 pounds for those of you who love warmies is equal to 2 warmies. So the smaller shield would equal 2 warmies. The king placed these shields in the palace of the forest of Lebanon. Then the king made a huge throne, decorated with ivory and overlaid with fine gold. The throne had 6 steps and a rounded back. There were armrests on both sides of the seat, and the figure of a lion stood on each side of the throne. There were also 12 other lions, one standing on each side of the 6 steps. No other throne in all the world could compare with it. All of King Solomon's drinking cups were solid gold, as were all the utensils in the palace of the forest of Lebanon. They were not made of silver, for silver was considered worthless in Solomon's day. The king had a fleet of trading ships of Tarshish that sailed with Hiram's fleet. Once every 3 years, the ships returned with gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. We've got this gold, we got the silver, ivory, and don't forget the apes and the peacocks. Okay. So King Solomon became richer and wiser than any other king on earth. People from every nation came to consult him and to hear the wisdom God had given him. Year after year, everyone who visited him brought gifts of silver and gold. Silver and gold, silver and gold. I think Burl Ives sang about silver and gold. Clothing, weapons, spices, horses, and mules. Solomon built up a huge force, not a large force, a huge force of chariots and horses. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses. Huh. He stationed some of them in the chariot cities and some near him in Jerusalem. The king made silver as plentiful in Jerusalem as stone, and valuable cedar timber was as common